What is up, retromaniacs? Welcome to the Retro Card Chat Podcast. My name is Mike, and I'm from Mike's Retro Trading Cards. And you know, you have all these people out there that are talking about content creators being on cards for big league baseball. I don't want any of that crap. I want to be on a Stadium Club Triumvirate card. And I want the other two guys to make up the 3-card panel to be these guys. They are your friends and mine, Joe Day and EP Eric Halleck. How you doing, guys?
Got through awesome now, buddy. Yeah, that was great.
How about that? Not bad. It was
imagine
different.
The luminescent. How awesome we looking luminescent.
Yes.
The
I was going to say we would have to have the luminous and luminescent parallel.
Yes, there would be parallels.
And I'm not talking like new triumvirate. I'm talking 90s laser cut style, the kind that you have no chance of getting in a soft sleeve.
Even with the pre-cut ones, you have no chance.
How great would that be? If we ever do cards of ourselves, you know, to stoke our egos a little bit,
yes,
we need to do that.
Yeah, no metal cards, though I do have, it's here somewhere. I do have my 101 that gifted me, but other than that, of course, those would be awesome. Any card art people out there who are bored and like the show, there you go.
And have the ability to do high quality 90s triumvirate inserts.
Yeah, right. Like laser cutting, right?
Yeah.
You have a laser in your house.
I have a laser cutter right in my backyard. Yeah, I'm good. Oh, so how's it going, boys? What's up, Joe?
It's going good. I was overtime all week last week.
What?
Paid overtime, EP.
Joe Day working overtime?
I did. And they were like 12-hour days, right? So whatever, 12-hour days, 8 to 8 or whatever, 9 to 9 some days. And I thought to myself, man, I'm going to blow EP out of the water when it comes to hours worked. And then EP's like, I worked 80 hours this week. I'm like,
hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer. I worked almost 80 hours this week. And I mean, for both of us, it's great. I mean, that time and a half is awesome. I love getting time and a half when I work overtime. EP, you?
I've heard of this paid overtime thing you talk about. I've heard other people talk about it, but I've never experienced.
You've never experienced that? Oh wow, it's awesome. It's awesome. I don't know why you just don't pick getting paid for your overtime. That's what I would choose.
I picked going salary a couple years of like many years ago, and that kind of the stop after that. It's so long ago, can't even remember what it was like.
Instead of using the time machine to go back and buy some Tom Brady rookies or something, EP should go back and go, you know what? No, I'm good. No salary for me.
When they say take salary, you say no.
Nobody ever says take salary, because let me tell you, as somebody who owns a business, there's nobody out there that owns a business that wants their employees to go on salary because they want them to work less than 40 hours.
Right.
They have no incentive to do that. It's always because they're going to work you way more.
When I was a restaurant manager years and years ago, we worked 50 hours, but of course that was 50 hours if the other person showed up one time, or 50 hours if everything got done. I was usually into 60 hours a week, and it was salary. And I said, #never again. It's never going to happen again. And I'm like technically salary, like I have a base amount of money I get every year, but I am eligible for overtime. So that's the ticket right there, EP. I would talk to someone about this. Get your boss on the phone right now. We'll have a conversation.
Yeah, can we do just patch him in here and talk to him on the podcast?
Keep the phone right here next to the microphone when I'm talking.
Yeah.
So if you guys buy from EP Stack Sales, if he's putting $1 for a card, give him $2. I mean,
you don't need to do that. Don't listen to Joe.
Maybe give him $3.
Don't listen to Joe.
Time and a half for Stack Sales.
Speaking of Stack Sales, I obviously have had a couple rough weeks at work and stuff. So I just yesterday got all the cards pulled. I had some people take some duplicates. Like one person took a duplicate, like 3 groups after they had taken one of the cards. So I wanted to go through and pull everything and make sure I had all the cards and find out what was duplicate, what wasn't. I had one person buy a card and send it to this other person that's also buying. So I had some weird stuff. So I wanted to I got all that done on Saturday, and on Sunday. Then I sent out all the invoices and everything. So hopefully anybody who's watching, you've received the notice to get the invoice and everything. But it is stuff finally is moving. I apologize for being delayed.
Well, there you have it. You know who doesn't delay?
I accept your apology.
Not to my own home. So, yeah, I had an interesting situation last night.
Was it whatnot related?
No. By the way,
exciting.
the whole whatnot, whatever. I guess I should update the people on the whatnot thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the seller finally got the card in from eBay, and he asked for my address to send it to me. It's not the same card. Not the same card. It's a similar card, but it's not the same card.
Is it at least out of 5 or whatever it was?
I think so, but yeah, it's not the same one. The one I had gotten had Hulk Hogan in his red and yellow tights, the long ones, and this one doesn't, but whatever. I just wanted to be done and over with. It's just not a good situation, but that's the latest update on that. But yeah, buy from Whatnot.
The guy could have sent you his version of Panini Points instead.
That might have been better. I don't know.
That's fair.
But yeah, unfortunately yesterday I decided to be controversial on Twitter. Me, of all people.
This is why. First off, what's Twitter? Secondly, why?
As long as you can type Twitter in and it goes there, it's still Twitter.
That's a good point.
But yeah, there's a female basketball player, Audie Crooks from Iowa State, and she's a freshman. NCAA tournament. She scored 40 points in their game against Maryland.
They were down 20.
Yeah, it was dominant. I think she was 18 to 20 from the floor. And she's a little bit bigger girl. Look at us. Look at us. We are way beyond big. She plays the game of basketball, though, and she plays at a high level. But of course, idiots on Twitter, being like they are, have to make fun of the girl's weight. I want to see anybody run up and down the court. I'm sorry. I don't care. I can't
one-on-one with her.
Yeah, exactly.
One-on-one with her.
But, I'm not even going to mention the account, but I saw a tweet that was making fun of it. And I just blocked them. I took a picture of the tweet because I didn't want to quote retweet it because I didn't feel like they even deserved that. And I just put a comment out there about how the great thing about Twitter is that people that are like this expose themselves and you can just block them. Seems innocuous enough, not a big deal, right? And pretty much everybody's in agreement because it's just a stupid thing to do. Oh, she's a bigger, so what? She scored 40 freaking points in an NCAA tournament game as a freshman. What have you done with your life? Seriously, she has a moment now that she's going to remember for the rest of her life. Just stop. But then in the comments,
wait, no,
I get people that, of course, are people that follow me that have to chime in with their comments about, oh, nobody cares if you block them. It's okay. What kind of point is that you're making? Nobody cares that I'm blocked. I care. Obviously, a lot of the people here care, and I've probably done a lot of people a favor showing them somebody they should block. And you actually made my day because now I have another person to block. I have a long list of extra people I got to block because I posted something that shouldn't be controversial, that apparently to some people are, because you just have to make fun of people that you don't know for no reason on social media just because you want to be a dick. Right.
They're all cowards because they're all cowards.
Absolutely.
They're advertising how much of a piece of crap they are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the perfect opportunity for us to block them. Like you said, I did the same thing. I because you didn't repost it, I had to do some work to find the person to block them, but I did almost immediately. 100%. And the other person that made that stupid comment, I also blocked them too.
Moral to the story: just don't be a dick. There's no reason.
But then social media would fall, right? If everyone was just in a good mood and happy, would we have Twitter? Would we have Facebook? Would we have any of these things? Because those are the people that make the companies money because they engage like assholes.
And that's a good point too. The funny thing is, whenever you have those people show up in your comments on something you post, they're never people that follow you. So how are they finding this? It's because Twitter's like, oh, this person's saying something that we know this person isn't going to agree with. So let's randomly make it pop up on their Twitter feed so they'll respond to it. It's like, it's the same reason I'm not on Facebook. Like the algorithm does that. It wants you to argue with people. And like the algorithm for Facebook is trying to make you fight with other people so you get more interaction on their app. And I decided a long time ago, I'm not going to let a computer program control how I feel. But like, here's Twitter, like doing the same thing. But thankfully, I just block them. Like I take EP's advice and I just block them. It's fun. Like, okay, say you had your say.
Really good.
Block.
It feels cleansing. Yeah. Yep.
It's almost like you're completely eliminating these people from existence.
Yeah.
Like powerful, empowering.
I want to say it was not this past January, but the January before we did our New Year's resolutions. And one of mine was to get more active on hobby Twitter. It is the best decision I ever made to break that resolution and not get more active. And I will say it's not specifically hobby Twitter, but like sports really brings it out of people, like any sort of sports. Like if this young lady was dog walking, no one would give a shit. But of course, it's because she's playing a sport, so it came up on someone's feed, and people just have to be assholes. So I was like, you know what? My morning constitutional, I'll look on Twitter, and that's pretty much it. I at that point, it's like I really just I don't like being on there. It's just just so many assholes, and it's hard to block all of them because the algorithm will find more for you.
Yeah, but it's so easy to block them. But
no, a lot of the people, to block, but I'm saying they keep sending you more people.
A lot of the people that were commenting and stuff aren't card people too. Like, because I clicked on the one person who made the "nobody cares that you blocked them" comment, and I like clicked on him, and like he had a tweet, which first of all he has 14 followers, so he's tweeting to the 14 followers, which are probably 12 or porn bots. But anyway, like. Just commented on a tweet from a sports card collector, and now my timeline's all sports cards. I'm like, well, then why did you do it? Like, just wait until my stack sale starts. You're gonna see all that stuff. It's gonna be great. You're gonna love it. So I don't know. People are just so dumb. But like, I do like that Twitter, like, you know, Joe, you said you're glad you didn't do it, but you can, if you take the time to curate your timeline.
I don't have that kind of time in my
especially life. Like when I see a tweet that pops up in my For You section that I don't want to see, if you click on it and type not, like hit the not interested and then not relevant, it really does do a good job, at least for a while, of filtering those out. So like my timeline is pretty well curated, and like I don't see a lot of the really dumb stuff like this. And I only saw this because somebody that I followed had commented about how awful the person was. So, you know, I took the opportunity to make myself the person that all these people that want to just be dicks can go after. But whatever, I'll just block you. There we go.
Yeah, Twitter drive-bys are. It always seems like they're like you said, Mike. It always seems like it's this kind of thing where somebody just shows up for this thing and then they're gone. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're not gone. But they're gone because we blocked them. I see some people on Twitter saying, "Oh, you use the mute button." I'm like, no way, man. I don't want anything to do with that person whatsoever. I don't want to try to. I don't want to settle them in a stack sale. I don't care at all. If that's their opinion, that's what the person they are. I'm just blocking them. Like to get out of my space.
I use the mute button if it's like someone's not doing anything like offensive like that, but they're just like, oh man, if I have to hear any more of your hot takes about why the Steelers getting Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are going to win them the Super Bowl, like you're not an evil person. You're not a douchebag. You just have some terrible takes about certain things. I'll mute you at that point. But like, yeah, if it's someone like this, just block them or avoid social media altogether. This guy.
I don't know. I do quite well with my stack sales on there. I like interacting with people that have similar interests, like helps me enjoy the hobby. I'm not cold and prickly like you are, Joe Day.
I just don't like assholes. Sorry. I mean, is that cold and prickly?
There are a lot of people that aren't assholes that you don't like too, but you know.
Other than you two.
Well,
I don't like assholes other than you two.
I'm an asshole. EP can be, even though people don't think that sweet little EP can ever do anything mean to anybody. Oh, yeah, he has you fooled. Yeah, take a hard look at that guy down there. He's fooling you.
Pure evil.
All right, let's get into it this week. So, the great thing about this hobby is we can find people that are popular to collect and collect their cards without any worry or fear of anything bad ever happening, right? Like, look at Wanderfront. Okay, well, maybe not him. Shohei Ohtani. The guy is just a great guy, great baseball player.
Golden boy.
Golden boy. Like, he is pretty much the face of the MLB right now. People love to collect his cards, and rightfully so. He pitches, he hits, he does both at a high level. He's already in the Hall of Fame. We know that, right? Well, so now I am not saying that Shohei Ohtani is involved in any of this in any kind of nefarious way, but it came out this week that Ippei Mizuhara, did I say that right? I think I did.
I believe so, yeah.
Which will now be referred to as his interpreter, was fired by the Los Angeles Dodgers because of his involvement in illegal gambling. Apparently, depending on which version of the story you believe, he was placing illegal bets with a bookie and got himself into quite a bit of debt with the bookie. I think it was like $4.5 million or something like that, which anyway, I won't get into questions of how you get that far, but then apparently there was money that was sent from Shohei Ohtani's account to the bookie, which would be illegal because you aren't allowed to transfer funds over the wire to a bookie. But anyway, the story is either
a bookie, by the way.
Well, I think gambling is still illegal in
in
California.
Yeah.
So they don't,
like
even though
crime,
all the leagues have totally embraced gambling and are more than happy to take money from all the sites that allow gambling, right, you're still not allowed to be involved in anyway. But so the real question is whether or not that his interpreter was doing the betting and got in all this debt, and Shohei Ohtani willingly paid that off for him to help out a friend, because his interpreter is like his best friend. So they've been together for a long time. So it was a little crazy when I heard that the Dodgers fired him. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And or another part of the story, because like the Ohtani camp is giving conflicting stories. It originally started with, he knew this because he's my friend. He said he would take care of it. Then they changed it to, no, somebody transferred it out of his account and he didn't know about it probably because it's illegal. The spokesperson probably said, let's backtrack on that and just say that it was stolen. You're going to take the fall for all this because it's all your fault. Or the other option is some people seem to think Shohei Ohtani may have been placing the bets through his interpreter. There's not information out there yet to show that is what's happening. There's not a lot of information about what's going on, but like the questions about everything is what has everybody talking. I'll let you go first, DP, because you're the big baseball guy. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, first off, all of the allegedlys and all of the reports said
there's a lot of alleged.
A lot of we don't have any real details. Only what we've been hearing, what they've been putting out. So allegedly everything. Reports said everything of what we're talking about here. Just, because we don't know anything.
No,
but this is a crazy thing. Even if Ohtani didn't have anything to do with all of this, his name is attached to the wire transfer to this bookie, which is super illegal. And so I just have to wonder what comes out of it. Like, and the ramifications in the collecting world for a guy who is, like you said, he's everybody, he's everything everyone wants to collect right now. Like, his cards are the most expensive cards in baseball, more so than Mike Trout, who, tries to, getting toward the end of his career, and Ohtani's on the rise. I mean, and then now he's on the Dodgers, and like should be an exciting time, but instead we've got this crazy situation. Like this is one of those things we definitely don't have in our bingo card for 2024 for sure.
No.
Everybody's excited about him coming back, and he's going to be hitting. He's not going to be pitching for a while, but here we are with this just an insane story just popped up, and I'm still trying to process a lot of it because there are so many tentacles, that potential tentacles coming out from this thing.
What was the $4.5 million spent on? Like, what kind of gambling are we talking about here?
That's one of the tentacles.
Yeah.
Was it baseball?
If it's baseball, that's a big problem. I mean, it's all a big problem. Like if he was working with a bookie on the NCAA, tournament or something like that, like I've always had a problem with that. Like, you go back to like Calvin Ridley, and he was betting, like he wasn't anywhere near the team, and he was betting on the team winning. Or people who would bet on college games when they're in the pros, and they would get in trouble for that. So like the leagues need to do something to clear up the betting stuff, because it's so ridiculous that they're taking money from those organizations and they don't mind plastering, DraftKings and BetMGM all over the Super Bowl. And then when someone makes some bets, all of a sudden, like if you're betting against your team, sure, I get that. I understand that.
Yep.
But if you're betting on something not your sport, or you're betting for your team to win, I mean, you should be betting on your team to win internally anyway. So what's the matter? So I'd really like to know what the bets actually were. That being said, I don't think Ohtani actually made the bets. Unless it was like 1,000-to-1 odds or 10,000-to-1 odds, and he had an inside scoop where he could like 10x his money. This guy's not that dumb. I'm sorry. He just got what, $750 million, wasn't it? Like, I'm sorry, you're not going to ruin that potentially for $4.5 million worth of bets.
The interpreter, I believe, was being paid $500,000 a year. I think that's what I saw for his salary.
Which is really good money, but still,
yes,
I mean, I could see someone like that ruining their life, going out and making those bets for $4.5 million, especially not being able to pay them. I don't know. It's just, I can't wrap my head around someone who got paid that much money making such a stupid decision over what really would be like us losing $20 at the casino, right? Like 4.5 million versus the 750
might be a little more than 20. Yeah.
But, I mean, EP makes very little. So if he lost $20 at the casino, that would be, joking aside though, I'm serious. Like, it's a drop in the proverbial bucket for someone who just got paid almost $1 billion. So I don't see him going out and doing that. It just seems so stupid to me that I cannot believe that Shohei actually did it himself. I believe also he wired the money himself though to cover the debt, which apparently is not on the up and up either. Apparently there's some issues with that, legal and otherwise, but him actually betting the 4.5, I really don't believe he did.
See, I also don't think that seems like a ridiculous sum of money, for one bet. I'm guessing this is a cumulative amount.
Yeah, it is. He had the bookie, and this is one of the questions that make people like, they're at this point in time, we're recording this, there is absolutely no information that says that Shohei Ohtani knew anything about this while it was going on. So let me just put that out there. So, but that's one of the things, like, first of all, people want to tear down people they build up. So obviously people are going to be looking for whatever they can. And one of the things is, how did the interpreter get $4.5 million of credit from the bookie when he didn't have that kind of money? Although I'm sure the bookie knew who the guy was and knew who he was friends with. So, and that's what they said. I believe the bookie even said that that the reason he is because he knew he was friends with Ohtani and figured that it would be good for it. So he wasn't worried about that. So it was a, up and up illegal bookie, I guess. But yeah, go ahead, EP.
Well, no, I don't have anything else to say about that. Just go ahead.
So yeah, the big thing is, like, there's nothing definitely linking Ohtani. I can, like, if you step back from the situation, I can see that one of the big problem was that they backtracked on what the interpreter originally said. His story, I believe his story is the truth. And then the spokesperson was like, if you say that, though, Shohei is going to be arrested for sending the money to him. And I can see a situation where a guy who's your friend, you have all this money, he's in debt from the gambling, you're going to help him out. Ohtani was probably thinking he was doing the right thing by helping his friend get out of this debt, maybe trying to get him to stop betting and stuff. And then after the fact, they might have found out that, oh, you can't do that. That's illegal. So I feel like the backtracking is because the original story was probably true. And then by that story being true and the interpreter giving that story, they're like, that would make Shohei liable for charges to be brought up against him for transferring it, which, I mean, okay, I understand we have to have laws in place, but I really don't think that like somebody trying to help somebody out like that should be really that big of a deal. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm naive, but that's where like the Ohtani connection, like I don't think the interpreter stole it from him. I don't think he knew nothing about it. I think he was trying to help out a friend. This is purely speculation though.
I agree 100%. I feel like to me, it feels like now this guy's kind of falling on the sword for Ohtani. Kind of like, and then, eventually he'll make it right with him. He'll give him some money, for all the years he's maybe missed after giving up his salary for working. Like I said, $500,000 is, I mean, $500,000 to just be an interpreter. That said, also the interpreter, you would think that because of his job, like he probably has access to a lot of Ohtani's credentials and his funds, and he could probably transfer money himself. So you could see where the story would potentially have legs. But I do agree, like these guys have been friends for so long that you really don't. I just couldn't see people friends that long, somebody stealing that amount of money from something like that. Like it just seems like it's so much money. Joe says otherwise.
People change very quickly when something like this comes up. You think they're your best friend in the world, and then all of a sudden they're down $4.5 million. And they have access to your accounts. Do you put anything? I don't put anything past anybody. And maybe that's a glass half empty kind of way to look at the world. But have you seen the world? Like, that's my point. Like, I wouldn't put it past him then going in and stealing the money. I would not put it past him, because he's probably thinking, and I did the math, $4.5 million is 0.006% of what Ohtani just got paid by the Dodgers. So, I mean,
but that amount of money has been deferred like the end of his contract. Like I think he only got like, was it $5 million a year or something like that for the first couple of years of the contract? Like that. Yeah, it wasn't very much. So I mean,
so maybe $4.5 million would be a lot more noticeable. You would think there are checks and balances too. That's why I'm kind of not sure if the guy actually stole money, because you would think that he has a business manager. You would think he has some sort of lawyer involved. I just can't. Again, I can't wrap my head around $4.5 million if he's only making $5 million a year. I don't know how much he made with the Angels, but like, I don't know. I can't imagine that amount of money goes missing and Ohtani wouldn't have noticed it before all this happened.
I mean, maybe they did. Maybe they were trying to get in front of it. Like, no charges have been filed yet or whatever. Like, I feel like they're trying to get in front of it, and then they realized that the story they were saying was still going to get Ohtani in trouble. That's why they pulled the original.
That's the other question. What's the legality of this guy? If they're changing the story, the guy went in and stole $4.5 million. Is it a Ohtani has to press charges for it, or is it just at a certain point just becomes illegal and this dude's going to spend time in prison?
I'm not
I'm not a lawyer. Sure. I can't answer.
Paul Lesko, do you have answers to that? Can you comment below? I mean, but I mean that's really taking one for a friend. If he didn't do it,
the real question too is whether or not he bet on baseball, because even if it's not Ohtani, like somebody that's very close to him that could have inside information about injuries and stuff like that. Like, we have seen what MLB has done to previous players that have bet on baseball. They have been expelled from the league completely And, I don't know if you can make a differentiation between one or the other betting on it if they were both involved in it. I don't know. Like, the big fear for me is, what is Major League Baseball going to do when this all gets settled? Like, what are they going to find out? How hard are they going to look? That's a good question too.
I was not going to ask the question. I was just going to say the MLB is not going to look very hard at this one. This is one where it's like when Pete Rose went through all this stuff, he was a manager at that point. He had already played out his career, correct? Like and he wasn't like the face of MLB. Whoever said it, I forget if it was you or EP Mike, Shohei Ohtani is the face of Major League Baseball right now. Like, there's no denying that. So they have a vested interest to not have, imagine, Deflategate and all those other things aside, imagine if Tom Brady was betting on games. Like, that's a whole different can of worms and some deflated footballs, right? So, like, the NFL, do you think they would have looked really, really hard into Brady betting on games? Or do you think they would have had a very convenient, I mean, not a translator, but, oh, no, it was Giselle and he had no idea what was going on? Because you watch these shows with translators and they're like, nope, you can speak freely in front of the translator because it's like speaking to me. I mean, yes, they're different people, but you're right, Mike. Like, can you differentiate that when someone's making bets? They're his best friend. I don't know. I think the MLB is going to look completely in the other direction. They're going to buy whatever bullshit story, whether Ohtani actually was making the bets or not. I bet you they will be fine with any bullshit story that they give them.
Yeah, I said at the beginning about tentacles. Like, this is the one that has the greatest potential impact on Major League Baseball, on collecting, on the hobby, on all these players. Like our buddy Mike Jones, we were texting back and forth, and he said, "Boy, I bet you Pete is really paying attention to this." As in Pete Rose, I was like, "Absolutely!" Like because I mean, they're if they look, I think back to the steroid era when like McGuire and Bonds and Sammy Sosa are just pounding home runs, and they're all massive. And Major League Baseball was like, "What steroids? I don't understand." Right?
We don't know anything about that.
Yeah. What? And then later, like when these things come out, like, oh, well, we already got all the juice from the excitement from all those home runs, so we can go ahead and get rid of
the
word
now. Juice too. By the way, yeah, they got juice. Right. Barry got juice. Mark got juice. Everyone got juice.
So I mean, and they're probably gonna look the other way, but Pete Rose is gonna be like, hey, if you're not gonna, if he again. All allegedly, all reports. We don't know anything. But if it comes out that Ohtani had any part in this, or even his interpreter was betting on baseball, and nothing is done against Ohtani, like Pete Rose is going to have to be like, listen, like look what's going on here. Like how can you keep the all-time hits leader out of the out of the Hall of Fame at the least? So I really think there's a lot of potential here. And again, like our buddy Mike Jones, like I said, we were talking. He's like, sell your Ohtanis now. And I mean, like I don't know if that's something that I wouldn't necessarily be doing, but we're going to get into that. But I mean, like we were going back and forth about a lot of stuff. So
yeah, that's my next question. So if you were the kind of person that were looking to either take advantage of this or get out of this, which are you? Are you going to be buying him, or are you going to be selling him right now? Like, clearly this is going to impact his cards at least a little bit, right? It has to. He's been pretty much Teflon like for a while now, but this is going to have some kind of impact on it. But do you think it's a good time to buy, or would you be selling them if you had them?
It's your misery index, man. Like how much stress can you handle in your collecting? How much money do you want to have tied up in a player that 6 months from now you don't know potentially what's going on with them? The comparison is so stupid, but it's like the Wander Franco, you brought him up at the beginning, Mike, as a joke. Tatis was another one. It's like, how much misery are you willing to endure on a daily basis when you see, I think the cards are going to drop. So if you're someone who's willing to ironically gamble, I bet you his interpreter is going to buy a ton of Ohtani cards, probably 4.5 million at least. But if you're the type of person who's willing to make that gamble and think, like I do, that the MLB is not going to touch their golden boy. He is too big of he is almost bigger than the game at this point, right? I probably couldn't name 10 other baseball players. I couldn't. But I'm just saying, I know who Shohei Ohtani is. And I bet you there are plenty of people like me who do as well. If you're willing to kind of throw out some money, hope the MLB looks the other way, I mean, it might be worth it. I wouldn't be selling right now, though. By the way, I would not be selling right now. Again, unless your misery index is, you can't deal with that stress. But I've seen a lot, for the 20 minutes a day I'm on Twitter, I saw a lot of people selling Shohei cards.
I think if I had a lot of extras, I'd probably be selling at least some of them. But also, if I was somebody who didn't have any Ohtani rookie cards at all, this would probably be a time to go buy one, just because the price might be down a little bit, and it might be the only time that we see a dip. Even despite his injury, like he didn't really have what I don't understand what's that, Joe?
Remember the Tatis thing we were going to do? Should we do
it
with an Ohtani card?
No, we don't. I would not invest in him, but I mean, I would buy one if I didn't have one, just because like the price is going to be low enough that, and in theory, it's low enough. But I mean, through his injury, like I don't think his card prices really dipped that much either. So, like Mike said, his cards have been Teflon, and if there is a chance to get a rookie card now, and the chances are they're not going to do any, could there be no ramifications for this whole thing anyway?
Are the cards actually going down? Is the question.
I haven't checked, but I'm assuming because with the amount of sales that are going on, anytime there's a bunch of sales, like the prices keep going down a little bit. So I would assume they're down at least a little bit.
Well, if we've learned anything in this hobby, the interpreter should not have bet illegally. He should have just bought into like $4.5 million worth of breaks trying to get Shohei Ohtani cards. That is perfectly legal. Why didn't you do that? So I don't know. Okay, well, let's move on a little bit. I think we've said all that needs to be said about that. This is going to make some people upset, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Turns out that CGC acquired JSA auto authentication this week. That now gives CGC the ability to actually authenticate in-person autographs and stuff, just like BGS and PSA. I don't know where I stand on this in terms of how it's going to help them as a grading company, but I think JSA is a very well-respected service. Like I personally, they've been around a while. I feel like I trust their authentication as much, if not even a little more than maybe a BGS or maybe even a PSA. So like they're a big player in the space. They're very well respected. And, I think this is a great move for CGC. They didn't have the ability to be able to authenticate autographs. Now they can. We know that not all the manufacturers' autographs you can trust that they're real anymore. But like Joe, I posed this to you in text the other day because CGC does a lot of private signings with like comic book creators and do autographs and slab them. Do you think that this could be an area for them to maybe bring in athletes and stuff like that, or even non-athletes, anybody really, and have them sign cards and do the authentication and slab them in a new slab for the cards?
Well, they already do that actually, Mike. Okay. So like if you send in McFarlane cards, like cards from like the comic images sets from years ago, McFarlane will sign them. They'll have private signings of those. The problem that's always been with CGC is that they won't authenticate anything that they don't witness. Right. So I don't know if it's like on the card side, I'm not sure. The comic book side, though, if you get a comic book autograph, let's just say I was walking down the street 10 years ago or whatever and ran into Stan Lee and happened to have Silver Surfer #1 with me. And I said, Stan, can you sign this for me? He probably charged me because from what I understand, that's how Stan Lee was. But he would autograph it, right? And then if I tried to slab it, CGC would not slab it with a autograph.
Yeah.
They would actually probably lower the grade because the book had been written on. You would send it to Beckett, which is CBCS, if I'm getting my acronyms correct. So this, just from the comic book side, would make that possible that they would look at this and they would authenticate, yes, that is a Stan Lee autograph, and they will. Now, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if they have like a different shade of yellow. Like this one we physically witnessed. We had someone at a show from CGC physically witness this, where this one we are authenticating from a third party. Maybe
that's what I was wondering. I should clarify. Like they said JSA goes to shows and everything. So
Yeah.
like, I'm wondering more along the lines of, okay, and instead of having a signing where we're bringing somebody to the headquarters and doing it, which we are seeing it, because they're not, like you're saying, they're not actually authenticating the autograph. They're certifying that they witnessed the autograph being done.
Which,
but
don't
now,
you wish they did that in
like
Panini and Fanatics had people that did that?
Yeah,
like
it'd be really cool now though that you can have JSA there to authenticate the stuff, like kind of do the same thing that they're already doing at the headquarters, but now you can go do it at a show kind of thing, if that makes sense.
It does, and you would think so. I'm kind of surprised they don't do that now, just because like you don't need a special authenticator to sit there and watch some. If you see Dan Marino sitting there signing stuff, you don't need someone.
It's real.
Right? It's real. I think for me, this is showing that they're going to do more authentication of stuff coming to them.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Versus like something that shows, because again, you just need a warm body who knows who Dan Marino is to watch him sign those. I don't think you really need JSA for that. I think they're losing potential business to BGS, to PSA, for people sending stuff in that they can't authenticate because they don't have that in-house. I think that's the big takeaway from the JSA buying. I think that's the big part of this.
Yeah. Do you think that they did this because of the autograph comics, or do you think they're obviously they're growing the sports card collecting too? But do you think they've been doing that forever? I guess with the signing of the comics, do you think they're doing it because of the comics, or do you think it's more of the growing the?
I think it's for
both.
Side? I think they want to grow the sports card authentication, and I also think like it is something that they are absolutely losing business to BGS and to PSA. Like now you have a third option. There are people out in the world who absolutely hate BGS. There are people out in the world who don't want to feed the monster at PSA, and they're looking for a legitimate third option to authenticate autographs on cards or comics even. I would not be surprised if they're seeing this. There's this chunk out there that they can go and get that right now. I mean, now and I think I said this in text, all four of the big companies in terms of card grading now, depending on what SGC gets through collectors, all four of them could authenticate autographs. And I think that's important.
SGC is fully independent though, so they wouldn't have.
Oh yeah, that's true. Right? They wouldn't have access to to that kind of stuff. From
CGC, like they do a lot with wrestling, which is, and they do a lot with non-sports. So this could be good for them too, to be different than not necessarily expecting people are going to get a Shohei Ohtani autograph and send it to them to get authenticated. Right. But like, a lot of people do go to signings and get comic book cards signed and stuff like that.
The
and
wrestling thing card, is even bigger,
especially because they do a lot of the independent cards, which is a really growing segment of the wrestling. And a lot of the independent people are able, you go to a smaller show, you're able to get your cards autographed by those people. So that's great for that too, that they can offer the dual service of not just saying, the autograph's authentic, but they can give you a card grade on some of that stuff and authenticate the autograph if you have it on. So, I mean, I think there are opportunities there for them to, JSA, like I said, they go around to a lot of shows. I think they do the one in Hazleton here, EP, which is not a huge show. So, but they do go to a lot of the shows. You can take stuff to them and get them authenticated, which is cool. So, I mean, any company that's adding that service, I think is a good thing at the end of the day. Like we shouldn't, it was always kind of dumb that SGC and CGC couldn't authenticate the autographs that you were sending them. So, I think this is a good thing. Go ahead, EP.
We're thinking about this from the CGC angle, but also like for JSA, I think it's a good thing for them too, because people send autographs to them and they send back a certificate of authentication, but now they can also get it encapsulated. Mm-hmm. So that's a good thing for their brand as well. So I do. Again, we're thinking about it from the CGC side, but for JSA, it's a really good deal too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like we're just looking at CGC, but for JSA now, instead of just having something saying it's authentic, it can be slabbed up and nobody has to worry if it was messed with somehow. So
yeah, I always, whenever I see stuff like that from JSA, I've always said the only autograph I would feel 1,000% like safe getting is one I'm physically asking the person to sign.
Right.
But with the JSA, you're right, Mike. It is a very, very well known and accredited business.
Mm-hmm.
But I always worry, again, you always have to worry about the bad actors in a space, right? Are they taking off the sticker? Have they found a way to replace that sticker with like something fake? And then, I don't put anything past anyone, I think is the theme of this episode for me.
Yeah. Pricing will be interesting too, because if they could come in at a little lower price point, they have a beautiful slab. Like nobody ever argues that, but clearly PSA and card grading value is worth more. And if you had an autograph and say they're $10 cheaper per card than PSA, it could be interesting. Like I don't see any difference. Like there shouldn't be a difference in a PSA autograph authentication that's slabbed and a JSA one and a CGC slab. Now, this is a hobby. It might be just because I don't know if it is now or anything, but like that, if they come in cheaper, like I would consider, like I like JSA. I feel like they're very well respected. So maybe I shouldn't be giving my opinion, but I would be willing to send it in if it was cheaper.
I also wonder if there's going to be like a different slab, right? A different label, I should say, not a different slab.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely keep those slabs because they are really nice. I wonder if they'll have like how it's PSA DNA, maybe it'll be CGC/JSA, and so that will be on there. And I think they should make some sort of, don't just assume people know that you bought JSA and they're part of CGC now. Make sure that is something distinct that tells them that. Same thing along the same lines with the comic books. And I do want to make one more point, like BGS, the comic book grading, they're kind of like the upstart in comic books, which is kind of funny. Like they're the ones, like CGC is the man. They're PSA in terms of the comic book grading. This would be like PSA buying SGC if you think about it, because CGC now bought JSA. They can have them authenticate those third-party things. It's really going to eat into BGS's kind of niche market for having comic books graded. So, I mean, we talk about these companies buying other companies to try and shut down other companies. I think this is going to really, really hurt the CBCS, which is a BGS company. I think it's really, really going to hurt them in the long run. And they were trying to ascend. They were like those it was like SGC before SGC got bought, right? They're just kind of trying to bite away at CGC's comic book market. And they were starting to make headway, especially with all the news with CGC coming out and people messing with the slabs and stuff. And now it's like, oh crap, they just bought JSA. They can do what we can do now.
Yeah.
And that's really going to hurt them in the long run.
Yeah. And comics are another area too, like that people don't think of. It's not just about cards. This is about a bigger business model. And Joe, I do want to shout you out here. You just said all of those acronyms and stuff and got them all right. You didn't confuse any of them. You didn't mix any of them up.
Iced tea today. No beer and me.
Wow. maybe we're on to something. Maybe we should have Dry Joe Day.
Dry Joe Day.
Oh, well, PSA, we mentioned them a little bit there. They're raising the price of their collectors club. It's going up to $150 a year, but
$149, I believe.
$149.99. Yes. Okay. But they're going to give you $60 in Fanatics Live credit to help make up for it. I mean, the price increase is what it is. I mean, is it a coincidence they just bought up the number 2 grading company and now they're raising their prices? I'm sure it's totally a coincidence. This isn't gonna have anything to do with anything. But it's a little interesting that Fanatics and PSA are working together here a little bit.
Interesting is a word.
I'm gonna let EP go first. I just want to make one point though that I really wish I would have made when we talked about collectors buying SGC. When does SGC have a membership fee?
They're totally
They're
independent.
operating out independently. That's not. That's not.
They are operating independently, but they're still owned by collectors, not PSA collectors, and it's different. But yes, I'm waiting for that moment.
And I'll throw in an aside here too. Their return times are almost the same as PSA's for their specials they're running. But I digress. Anyway, EP, give us your thoughts.
I mean, PSA Fanatics working together. I mean, they were talking about Fanatics. So they only want to buy a grading company, but I mean, do they have to really? Like right now, I mean, they're going to get probably more out of this than they would. Maybe not more than they would about buying the company, but I mean, like it's a beautiful relationship between the two of them. Of course, any way they can increase the amount of gambling going on in the hobby and grow
Shohei's
their
translator
hobby 10%.
is loving this.
Yeah, yeah. I thought for sure Mike was going to go there when you said about earlier about Shohei buying into breaks. I thought that was going to be the transition into this.
Like, yeah, it would have been. I missed an opportunity there. I'm sorry. I'll try to do better next week.
They're actually, they're increasing the price by only $50, but they're giving you $60 in credit.
I know.
Right?
It's like doubling your money.
Double bonus, just to sign up for PSA. And with this hobby, man. Go ahead, Joe.
I mean, I hate to compare card collecting to crack cocaine, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah, do it. Go ahead.
First hit's always free, man. The first hit is always free. Wow. And then guess what? You're going to be paying. This is what they're banking on. It's this. Casinos and drug dealers kind of do the same thing, right? They give you all of these reasons to go in and gamble. They give you all these reasons to get hooked on drugs. And then they take it away, and all of a sudden now you have to pay. So they're going to go give you $60 in free break credit. You're paying $50 for that $10. I want everyone to do the math on that, right?
I think you still get the loop credit though too, which I don't
makes it totally worth
loop
it.
Is whatever.
I don't know what you just said there. So anyway,
I don't either. I said it and I don't know what I said.
They're giving you $60 in Fanatics Live credit. The hope to Fanatics is you then get hooked. And then, I hit a good card, or that was really fun. And then all of a sudden you are spending Shohei Ohtani translator money on Fanatics Live. And I just want people to be aware of it for our small little community here. Use the 60. If you're going to re-up for PSA, use the 60 and then just walk away. I mean, don't get yourself hooked because, again, then you're going to have to get that fix after that 60.
Yeah, but you could get a really good card.
Oh, don't. Don't do it. Don't do it, people. No, I mean, it's from a business perspective, it's genius because they know card collectors are basically gambling addicts. So why not give them an opportunity to get in for free?
So we've been talking for a long time about, Michael Rubin wanting to have that grading company that when you break with them and all this stuff, you get your cards or they open the box for you and you send them right to grading. Do we think, maybe PSA bought up SGC? Like your next biggest company is what? CGC, I guess, but they're grading all non-sports cards. Beckett is just a disaster. We'll get to more on that very shortly here. But do you think maybe instead of buying a company, we did talk about maybe teaming up with the company. Do you think this could be a precursor to having an availability of getting a card and a Fanatics Live break and having it sent right to PSA?
100%. I mean, there's a huge, just like they were talking about this for a long time, right? I'm guessing that the Fanatics, Michael Rubin has been talking to PSA about trying to find a way. We got to find a way to work together. They see each other at, wherever like that. They've been talking about this for a long time.
Rich people clubs.
Right.
On the yacht and the boat.
On the yacht, yeah.
Party, something. Yeah. White party or something.
Yeah,
so there's
that's
no
called.
doubt.
That was called, yeah.
Which is a weird thing to name it, by the way.
Really
still,
weird,
in these times, kind of a weird thing to name.
Doesn't seem right.
It doesn't roll off the
Sorry,
tongue.
EP.
Yeah.
Go
That's
ahead.
right. No, I mean, like I said, they've been trying to work together for a long time. Probably here's like the opening salvo, and we're gonna see more and more. I'm guessing of them working together to do things. And the obvious, the easy thing is, you spent your PSA credit here. Now you can get your card slabbed, and that creates a whole mess of problems, of course, with as far as like chain of custody and what cards are getting PSA 10s, all that sort of stuff.
Ironically, you did make a joke about the yacht thing. I think if I remember correctly, when Ruben was on Bill Simmons' podcast the second time, that's how he met and became friends with Bob Kraft, apparently.
Yeah.
Like meeting at, I want to say it was at like his white party, which again, not great. But anyway, to this point, I think it might have been you, EP, that had mentioned you could see them buying Fanatics, buying SGC. They were kind of like SGC was giving them, giving people deals on baseball product that was coming out and all these things. And maybe SGC was the one that Fanatics could then end up buying. Maybe PSA thought that too. And maybe that's why they bought SGC and said, you know what? You wanted to buy SGC. We bought SGC. Now you really don't have anyone legitimate to go after. Now you have to work with us, and we have to work together on some of these programs. That one surprised me in the least. It's again, great business move. Not great for collectors, in my opinion. Collectors as in collectors, not Collectors Universe. But it is a great Collectors Universe business move, but not, in my opinion. Again, a lot of these moves that are being made kind of hurt actual collectors in a serious way.
Yeah, I think it makes too much sense for them to eventually get to some kind of a deal where you can send a card from Fanatics Live to PSA. Like, I don't see, like, why bother at this point if you're Michael Rubin buying a grading company? Like, I feel like you don't need to. Like,
you don't need the overhead.
Yeah, you can just send the cards to them. They can do the business. They get the business from grading the cards. Maybe your customers get a little bit of a deal through them. It just, it makes too much sense. And I mean, we're in the middle of the great consolidation of our hobby. Like, everything
just talked
is
about
shrinking
one
down.
5 minutes ago. We just talked about another one.
We did. And like, it's just been one after another after another. And I mean, seems a little funny because we're not used to it, but in every other big business, it happens. It has been happening for a long time. Not going to stop. This probably won't be the last move, but like, I do think it makes sense for them to work together, but we'll see. I don't know what the extent of the relationship is, but
it's great for flippers and investors. This type of move, if
people like us,
just like us. If you can go into a break and then you can have something slab right away, put it right onto PWCC marketplace or whatever, and do all that stuff where you don't actually have to touch the cards when you're not an actual collector. And it's not a bullshit thing versus collectors versus investors. All of us are a mix of some, but there are others who are just straight up trying to make a buck from the hobby. They don't have a PC, and all they want to do is they want to sell the cards. So having this chain and having, a cheaper price because you use the Fanatics break, and then a cheaper price because Fanatics has a deal with PSA to grade it, then a cheaper price because you're putting it right into the PWCC vault to have some sort of auction with it. I mean, it's a great deal for investors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I think this actually is this worked out better for Fanatics in the long run anyway, just because they're like, if Fanatics would buy a grading company, there would be a lot of people that would be questioning the validity of any scores that came out of it, or that any scores that were given to any cards that were a Fanatics brand.
Go back to episode 1. We talked about this.
Right. So I mean, like that. So this all worked out better in the long run because they got this deal, and then again they're going to have more deals and stuff like that. So there will still be a question of how buddy are they, and can you agree with the grades? But it's going to be way less so if they are not actual owners of the company.
Well, speaking of questioning the validity of the grade, we're going to end things up this week with a little situation that came out apparently at the Dallas Card Show last weekend. There was a dealer who had a card that they got graded by BGS, and it came back as altered. Apparently, then they sold the card as altered during the show, and the person that bought it, if I get this story straight, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I'm pretty sure this is what how it goes. Somebody bought it from them, cracked it out, and then took it back to BGS at the show, and they graded it a 9. So if I have the story right here, a dealer took a card to BGS at a show last weekend, and it came back altered. And then somebody else bought it and also took it to BGS at the same show and had them look at it again. Serial number card, by the way.
Oh,
and then they no longer thought it was altered. They graded it a 9. Like, I mean, Ziggy says all the time that grading is wizardry. Like, it is. It is a joke. Like, at the end of the day, nobody wants to hear it, right? But grading is a damn joke. Like, it is always only somebody giving you an opinion on a card. And if you send it in enough times, you'll find the guy that doesn't catch the thing that the other guy caught. Like, maybe the guy that thought it was altered was wrong. I don't know. But like, grading shouldn't be that way. We put so much into what these companies say and what number they give you. But then at the same time, it's all a joke. It is all an absolute joke. I'm not saying don't send your cards in. I'm not saying I'm not going to send cards in to try to get a grade that makes my card worth more if I'm selling it. But at some point, all of this is going to come crashing down, right? It's all a house of cards. It's an absolute joke.
Literally.
Based on opinion. They're people, they're human beings looking at something for a very short period of time and making a determination. They all screw up. We see it over and over again. How many vintage cards do you think are altered that are slabbed by all the companies and people have them in their collections? They think they were never touched. Like we talk about card cleaning and fixing and trimming, and we talk about Evan Mathis. At the end of the day, like, when you really put all the pieces together, like, how the hell is any of this shit worth anything, right?
Right. And I'm probably what you two have definitely graded more recently than I have. I haven't graded something in a long time. And I buy things that are graded for my PC because I'm hoping that whoever graded it, not even the number, because quite frankly, in some of the stuff I bought, if I'm buying a Tom Brady rookie card, I really don't give a crap. If it's a high-end card, I don't give a crap if it's a 5, 6, or a 7. Whatever the number is the number. I just want to know that it's real and that it hasn't been altered. This story makes me nervous. Well, yeah, let me finish.
Yeah.
This story makes me wonder if either of those things are correct either. And and Dan the Cardman has been doing some interesting videos too recently about like the guarantees that grading companies give you, and go watch them if you haven't, or don't give you. Right. Exactly. More appropriately, don't give you. And it just kind of makes you nervous about the whole thing, that again, like I was saying about autographs, unless you have that person there signing it, you can't be 100% sure that it's not fake. Same thing about a card, unless you pull it from a pack. And by the way, I'm not suggesting people should start ripping wax like it's nothing anymore. I'm not suggesting that, but unless you pull a card from a pack directly, do you have any faith that that card has not been altered?
Do you, even if you pull it out of a pack? I
well,
don't know anymore.
No. I will say you have faith that it has not been altered.
Okay.
You don't have faith that the grading company knows that it's altered or not. Because some of those grading companies, I've had cards sent back to me. They're like, these are altered. I pulled this out of a pack.
Yeah.
How are you calling this altered? And they all did it. SGC has even done it. And I like SGC before they were taken over by collectors. So like, you just really, really never know what's real and what's not. Doesn't matter what kind of slab it's in. Doesn't matter what the label says. We're shitting on BGS specifically right now because that's egregious. But it happens everywhere. And if you don't think so, if your favorite grading company, if you think in your mind that your favorite grading company doesn't do it, you are lying to yourself.
Yeah, because it's all opinion, right? My first thought on this was like, of all the companies, BGS does not need more mud on its face. Like this, I mean, this is a really, really bad one. Like they're really struggling right now. As
they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah. And when you said about this happening, and I was thinking altered, I was thinking for some reason a 1971 Topps baseball card popped into my head, and somebody used a marker and altered it and filled in some white or something like that. not a new card that was serial numbered.
Yeah.
Like, and I guess there's no way that they have like 100 graders at a random card show, right? They probably have 2 or 3 people there doing it.
I would imagine just
you would think it's a pretty big, probably a pretty big card if it's been graded. Maybe let's say an Ohtani or something like that. You would think that somebody's like, hey, didn't you look at this card yesterday? Or did you look at this card 2 days ago? Like, you would think that that there would be some sort of communication there. Possibly,
if there would only be something on the card that could help them identify it,
right?
Like a serial number. They should put numbers on them, and then that way they could tell if they looked at it before, right?
Yeah.
EP, what makes this even worse is the show was in Dallas. That's where BGS is. So,
oh gosh,
I will say it is completely possible that the person that saw it one day might be completely different than the person that saw it the next day because they're in Dallas. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had rotated people out. That being said, yes, it is serial numbered. You would think there is some way, like apparently PSA has figured out a way. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I assume that PSA has stopped changing grades on serial numbered cards.
That's my understanding.
That is a necessity.
Now,
it might only be one-on-ones.
Reports said, allegedly.
Right. It might only be one-on-ones because if a card's numbered out 2,500, and who knows if that's actually happening, but you would hope that technology is there, that they should be able to do it no matter what the serial number
is. The technology is there. Like, that would be very simple to have.
Very
like
simple.
A computer program that like would catch that, oh, this card with that number came in before. Like it was this.
It's called a database, right?
Yeah.
Well, SGC actually puts the number on the slab. PSA doesn't do that. They need to start doing that as well, putting the number on the actual label. This is 1 of 75 or 2 of 75 or whatever. I think all grading companies should do that. And it's kind of weird that they don't. So maybe that's not set up in the PSA database or the BGS database. It is in the SGC one. So maybe PSA can learn something from their little cousin that they just bought. But like, this and I will say the guy who lost out on, what did he say? He lost out on $15,000,
I think,
or something
like
that.
Is that what it was?
Like, that's what he says. He lost the difference between selling an altered version versus that. I will say, knowing what you know about grading companies, he probably should have went back and tried again. If you have a card that you lost $15,000 on, the difference between what you got paid and what it ended up selling for, if the delta is $15,000, you should know enough about cards and grading that you should have either went to a different grading company, go to PSA, they're at the Dallas Card Show for sure, or go somewhere else, or try Beckett again, obviously, and see if it comes back altered again. Why would you just say, oh, it's altered, I better get the hell rid of this card? That altered card is going to sell for the same that day, the next day, 10 days later, most likely. So what's the rush? My man, just go and get it graded and checked out by someone else.
Spend an extra for like $40 or whatever, you know? Like I mean, at that point, to see if you can get $15,000.
Just keep taking it back, like getting in the end of the line, giving it to them, getting the end of the line until you get what you want. Like that's what most people do in the hobby. You do that with grade,
resubmit.
Yeah. Oh, this is 9. I'll send it again. We'll get a 10. And after 4 times you get the 10, you keep it. Yeah. So. All right, guys, wrap it up there. This was a pretty long chat this week, but I think we covered everything. I think we did a very good job of it.
Someone said they want 2-hour podcasts.
Somebody did. Yeah. We could do that.
Right.
I mean,
we could easily go 2 hours. Have you been to our live
3 hours? Yeah, 3 hours like it's nothing.
We wouldn't even have to add any topics. We just keep talking about that stuff.
We'll just keep saying the same stuff over and over again. That's what we like to do. All right, guys, that was a good chat. We'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
See you, boys.
Adios.